There was over $250 billion sitting in the funds that were going to go to charity. So people who are living in a scarcity mentality may have a lot of fear. They don't travel. They don't give money. They're not even generous to themselves. What do you want people to say at your funeral? Would they be able to look at my life and see that I have consistently been generous?
Welcome to the Empowered Life podcast, and I am going to be honest with you. The topic we're going to talk about today, it kind of makes me cringe a little bit. And so we're talking about money, and to be super real and honest with you, this is a topic that's hard for me, but I know that it's not just me, that there are other people that feel the same way. It's funny. So my best friend and I, we joke that anytime our husbands want to talk to us about money, we are like the fainting goats, that like, and it's something in me. It's just like, but I know that is something that is not what God's will is, and that it's something I need to get over, and I'm working on it. And I know that, again, I'm not alone in that, and that this can sometimes just be an awkward topic, and that there's things that are holding us back. But the truth is, the kind of work that is changing lives, whether that is caring for orphans or fighting human trafficking or just supporting people in need, all of that happens because of people's generosity. And so that is why I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have today with Shannon Harris. So Shannon is a certified financial planner and the managing partner of Ecclesiastes Wealth Partners. And for over 25 years, she has been helping people align their money with their values. And so what I love so much about Shannon is really her passion. And her passion is for people, and it's for investing in people and in mentoring them. And she does that in so many ways. But another really cool thing about her is her love and support of nonprofits, and for nonprofits that are really making a difference in the world. And so today, Shannon and I are going to have a very real conversation about money. We're going to talk about why it matters, why it can feel awkward for people, how to know who to trust with your money, and how can we move past any sort of hesitation that you might be experiencing and really allow you to step into living in a generous way that is going to bring life to other people. And so I want you to know that this conversation is not about fundraising. That is not what we're talking, okay? That's not what this is. We are talking about breaking down barriers so people can discover the blessing that's on the other side of generosity. So I'm excited, Shannon, to have you, and I'm so grateful. And I hope that me telling you about all my fears and awkwardness about money doesn't intimidate you. I'm sure you've heard that.
I've heard that
times.
before.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm delighted to be here.
Okay.
There's probably no better topic you could have invited me to talk about than this topic.
That's so cool.
Yes.
I love how you and I met. We met because both of our sons play golf. And we met on a golf course. And it's funny that, my husband always says the best business happens on the golf course. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then it did, because not that it was all business. What you and I talked about was our passion for serving the vulnerable and for pouring into the lives of others. And you can't talk about that without also talking about generosity, right? Because that's
right. What I love about how I met you on the golf course is that we had mutual friends there, and they said, you have to meet Meredith because you two will be kindred spirits very quickly because of the passions you have. Yes. Not just around watching your boys golf, but about the spirit of helping others.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's so
too.
Cool. One of the beauties of golf, just getting to walk and dream and talk.
I do. I love it. I have a deal on the golf course now.
That's right. That's so cool. Well, before we get started, tell our listeners a little bit about you and, you, your family, and kind of what led you into this area of work.
I've started at our company 25 years ago at the time I was in college, and I'm an Aggie, and my parents were going through a divorce. And I feel like my parents' divorce was very much a factor of money decisions. And
Meaning money decisions kind of led to
poor money decisions led to a lot of family stress, and we moved. While I had a really amazing childhood, we moved 9 times in 18 years. And so it was an emotional roller coaster, specifically for my mom.
Yeah.
And it took a toll. My mom went back to school and is a therapist. So talking about hard things is something my family has always done. And money is a hard thing for a lot of people. That's what got me into the career. And then about 4 years ago, I really wanted to figure out, I could see this big disconnect between people planning for retirement, for example, and having all these things they want to do in retirement, from volunteering to traveling, to giving back, to spending time exercising. And then they got to retirement and none of those things were happening. And it was perplexing to me. And so I decided to get a life coaching certification and really work on the behavioral finance. So why do people do what they do with their money? How are they shaped by their own personalities, family experiences, and how they were raised, family of origin. So personality, family of origin, and experiences shapes how you view money and the money scripts you play in your head. And trying to help people move into freedom in that area. And I think generosity is the antidote to a lot of the fear people feel in that season.
Wow. I love that, because you could just approach your job just focused on like the what to do, right? And here are the steps you take. But to really bring impact and life change, you got to peel the layers a little bit and go a little deeper into why do we do what we do, and what is possibly a lie or some sort of, something in our past that's kind of keeping us stuck.
That's right.
Yeah. That's so
Exactly.
cool.
Yes.
Well, I can't wait to get into more of that. So let's talk about just like the heart of generosity. And in your experience, have you found that living generously like changes a person's, whether it changes their person's mindset or their relationships or their outlook in life? Like, how is generosity connected to a person on a deeper level? Have you seen that?
100 times over. A big seed for me was in 2008-9 period. I have a lot of clients who were friends, and I also, as a financial planner, was privy to their tax returns. And so what I could see on their charitable itemized deductions is where they were giving to the charities and how much. And they were all very generous, and a lot of them gave to the same people. So I got really curious about who are these people they're giving the money to. And it was actually a global outreach on trafficking organization that I have gotten involved with. So it was a seed for me. But what I saw with those clients, who are a lot of them are friends of mine, is that giving was not an obligation. Being generous with their time, talent, treasures, financially, but the way they served and helped each other in their community. And they seemed to be, I wanted what they had. It was contagious.
Just freedom, or
freedom and attitude and mindset. And I feel like their hands were open. They had enough. I would describe it as an abundant mentality. They felt like they had enough. And that they wanted to give. It wasn't out of duty or obligation or trying to
guilt
or legalism. You're supposed to do a certain thing, but just it was joyful, and they've planted a seed for me. I will say honestly, it's been even from my husband and I coming from very different financial backgrounds and upbringings and religious training on how money is supposed to be handled. We had to find our way there. I can share a few stories about that, but I've even seen him become a lot more I guess the better way to say it is a lot of fear has been removed from his life, and because he's not living, we focus on that we have enough.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to live in fear because we have enough.
Right.
We have so much. And I'm not saying by a measure of richness, but a measure of heart felt like we have enough to give others to others.
Right. So that you've seen the example of someone who's living like in the abundance and just the overflow, but I'm sure you've seen the opposite as well, where people are living in a sense of just scarcity and fear and being bound.
Yeah, the interesting thing about scarcity is it shows up in two very different ways.
Okay.
There's a fear-greed spectrum.
Okay.
So people who are living in a scarcity mentality may have a lot of fear, and they don't travel, they don't give money, they're not even generous to themselves. They won't hire a housekeeper when they're having a backaches because they don't see that they're worthy of spending the money on. And they, I think, live in bondage in some ways. And then it can also show up as greed because it's never enough. Always wanting more, the nicer car, the second house, it's never enough. But that is often based in fear too. That they just are really worried that they need more to be happy, or they need more to survive. And so that's another type of bondage that we see. Fear or greed.
Right. So how do you, and maybe this is a deeper question that we'll get into, but I'm just curious, like, how do you break those mindsets?
My hope is from awareness, and we do values work with all of our clients where we try to, we introduce an exercise, we help people uncover what is it that you truly value in your life. There's 51 named values in this exercise, but you can create your own. And then it's coaching them to have awareness if family is really important to you, but you don't want to spend money on any trips. You don't want to spend money on experiences. You don't want to do anything that's going to be generous to your family. Then you may not be living in alignment with what matters to you. It can go in so many more levels than that, but sometimes it's real fundamental as people just didn't know they could give more generously, from treating someone to dinner to making a substantial gift.
Right.
In their mind, they did not have enough.
So just asking those questions and kind of taking a step back to look at the numbers, but then also really evaluate your values and is it aligning? Is there a connection?
That's right. These? And I think it takes time. The 70% of adult learning is through practice. And so I think you have to practice generosity. And so to move from fear and greed and then move the needles where you feel more freedom, you have to be practicing generosity. So what does that look like? We can talk a lot about that, but I don't think you turn a switch and you just realize, oh,
I'm going to do this.
I think you take one little step and another little step, and that's how you start to change.
Like anything, right?
Like anything.
Right. Losing weight or getting healthy or changing any sort of habit. It's slow steps in the right direction.
It's slow steps.
Take you where you want to go.
And remembering you have to practice it. I think about my teenage daughter getting her license. She's never going to get good at driving by sitting in the driver's seat watching. 10% observation, 20% her taking her online studies, but the only way she's going to become a good driver is behind the wheel. The only way you become more generous is finding ways you can practice being generous with your time, your talent, your treasure, and the more you practice, the better you get.
That's so good. To be a doer of the word. I just read that this morning, right?
That's right.
Don't just learn it and listen, but then go out and do it. I feel like from just conversations I've had with other people that trust is a big part of what holds people back, and just there's been so much deception and so much fraud in the world. And so it causes people to just, kind of cling tight to their finances because they don't know who they can trust and how to trust. And so what are your thoughts around that? What have you seen in that regard?
I think that's very valid. When we see abuse of power and the way money is spent or a disagreement, I often hear this very easy example of like, well, I don't want to give money to the homeless man on the corner because he might go buy cigarettes.
Yeah.
I think it's always about what the Holy Spirit is drawing us to do and not about, it's an obedience piece. It's not about what that person does with it. And so it's a fine line. I think there needs to be accountability in where you're giving to. You want to see a church or a nonprofit or a school being good stewards.
Right.
I guess stewardship would be a really good word there, that you want to know that they're managing the money well, they're thoughtful in the decisions. And I do think there's a lot of due diligence that is required when you think of who you're giving it to. But to take it back a step, if we're practicing generosity and it's just getting uncomfortable with every time I go to the grocery store, they ask me to round up.
Right.
Do I just decide every time I'm going to round up because that's just one easy way? If I end up rounding up $1 a day for a year, that's $365, but it's not going to break the bank. I may not care as much about where that 37 cents went. Right. But if I'm making a bigger investment of my time and my money, I become more interested. You and I were joking before about the bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Even though I'm an Aggie, my son now goes to Arkansas. And now I want the bumper sticker. My son and my money go to Arkansas because now I'm a lot more engaged and interested in what's happening at Arkansas.
Right.
Because I have a connection.
Yeah, you're personally connected to it now.
So now I have an interest.
Right.
I think that's what happens when you start being generous. You become more interested in what you're giving money to or time to. And then you can become more discerning in that process of, I like how they're spending money and I like the objectives or I don't.
Right. Yeah.
So there's low risk decisions that you can say, I think this is more about what God is trying to do in me than about what that unfortunate homeless person has to decide what to do with the $5 I gave them.
Right.
But as I think about making bigger investments of your time or money, you will become more concerned and interested in how the money is being spent.
Right. Yeah. Because now you're, like you said, more personally invested in that. That's good. So I know money can stir up a lot of emotions for people. We've kind of hit on that already, whether it's fear or shame. And so what are some steps that people can take to kind of unpack that a little bit and start to move closer to freedom?
Awareness would be key. So first, identifying what you are afraid of. Is it afraid of losing, a lifestyle? Is it afraid of losing control? Is it afraid of being in a situation where you need to ask for help? Are you afraid of lack of discernment of how the money is spent? But really identifying what is at the root of any fear I have. And then looking for, again, moving that needle. You're going to have to go from step 1 to step 2. We were talking on the way here about it can be that way even at your church. There are certain churches in the Bible Belt of Texas that some person who really values status and prestige as a core value might love that they serve premium coffee and have the best of the best. And someone who values meaningful work and local impact might be very turned off. But the other opposite could be true at a different church. So I think if you know what your values are, it's not for us to discern churches are all doing good work.
Yeah.
But
Where
some
does
just,
your heart align?
where do you align? And that it's okay that you don't align everywhere, that you just need to find out where you do.
Yeah.
I had, my husband and I had been asked to have dinner with the pastor of our church, and I was sharing that with a friend, and she said, "Oh, that means they're going to be asking you for money." And I said, "The beautiful thing about my church is I believe in where they spend money. So if they're asking me to get behind a cause, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's usually something I want to be a part of." And but I could see how that could feel. I think pastors even cringe when they have to have the money talks, because they think people move into that legalism of here's what you're supposed to do, and how is the money being spent, and there's so much energy in it versus pastors have to raise money for the church.
Yeah.
They can't do good
Yeah.
without people's time, energy, and money.
Right. Yeah, I love the way that our church has approached this topic, and it really has opened my eyes to it being less about meeting the needs of the church, and more about what giving and generosity does in me and how it changes me.
Yes.
Because ultimately, God is going to provide and take care of his church, but what he wants is a surrendered life in me, and to not have me so driven in fear or shame or whatever that's making me live, tight-fisted. And I think when we can move to that, seeing that as the end goal, that it's less about providing for the church and it's more about first what it does in us.
Yes. God doesn't need our money. Local nonprofits don't. God could do anything.
Yeah.
But the reality is nonprofits need money in order to run and do good work. But I do think we have to know that it's an honor. And once you take a step and you feel the joy of like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that happened. I have a lot of stories where once I helped a client understand that they could, they could gift to their family, and it's maybe that they normally do a $50 gift. They've done a $50 gift to their grandkids for 18 years. And I know their money situation. And I'm like, you could give more. And a lot of times the answer is, I didn't know I could. So it's just, once you give permission, or give yourself permission to say, yeah, you can do this. You can be generous. And then to see when your grandkids, the grandkids came back, they got $500 instead of $50. And the grandkids had written notes like, this made a difference. $50 was nice, but $500 meant I could
accomplish that goal, or
buy
take
my
these
golf
steps.
clubs, or I actually got to put this to work, and this gave me so much joy. I bought the Apple one, like she said, my daughter or granddaughter wanted this Apple Watch so bad, and she now texts grandma so much more because she's like got her technology up to date.
Yeah.
And my client was like, I didn't
know.
know that would have an impact like that. But now that they've gotten a taste, they can, oh, well, what else am I not doing that I could be doing?
What's so cool about that is that wouldn't have maybe not have happened had they not started by having conversations like with you, and just the power of letting someone kind of step into the situation and help you look at it in a new way, and it allows you to maybe see your money and your situation in a whole new light, right? Have you seen that, where having these conversations with your clients just kind of has been life-changing for them?
Yeah, and I would echo what you said earlier. I don't think we have a lot of money conversations with our friends, but I think I'm the trusted advisor of a lot of people, where for a lot of our single clients, I might be the only person that they could have a money conversation with. They don't have a spouse or a partner. So they do share a lot about, well, can I or should I? And we talk a lot about if you hit your goal to retire and you have enough, and then you live your retirement and you die on your 100th birthday, and you had all this money that's you still have, how will you feel if you didn't put that money to work? Investing. Our mission statement is investing in people, and it's my mantra for life. Like if I held on to all this money that I could have
made an impact
in my lifetime, how will I feel? Will I feel it's regretful, remorseful? Will that grieve me that my fear of hanging on to the money prevented me from actually living out what God intended me to do?
Right. Yeah, when I meet my maker one day, I want to know that I gave it my all and I put everything out on the table and I didn't hold back because of my fear. And there's so many ways we can do that, and financially just being one of them, right?
It is. It's a big one, and often though you do need somebody to challenge you. To grow you, right? Growth, we grow through discomfort. And so if we're not talking to people, only our spouse or only our advisor, think about the missed opportunity of someone saying, you know what if we did this together? What if we were able to do more? And if we don't talk about it, you're never going to get that challenge.
You don't know about your blind spots.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, I want us to talk a little bit more about how to give wisely. And we kind of hit on this a minute ago, but there's obviously not a lack of need in this world. There's so much need and so much crisis and so many amazing nonprofits that are doing amazing work. So when you meet with someone and they have this desire to give, but they don't know what the next steps are, how do you kind of help them take steps in that way and like discern where, how to trust an organization, I guess?
I think there's a lot of different ways you could think about it. One is to give monthly. And in the old days, at least at our church, they used to pass around a giving basket, and they don't do that anymore. All of it's automated, online. And so it may be to start with a monthly schedule that's automatic, so you don't have to think about it. But then you become, as I said earlier, more engaged with that organization. You'll notice, it's like if you drive a Tesla, all of a sudden you notice everybody drives a Tesla. If you have a heart for orphans, you'll notice more because you've got money going to them. You'll get literature. You'll see it more in your life. And so it will start to create more curiosity for you about your cause.
Yeah.
It's really important to get connected to a cause, because if you don't have a cause or something that God's just broken your heart over, that pulls your heartstrings, it would be hard to have the motivation to give. I think there is obedience with our churches to give. So if you might be curious with yourself, if you're at a church that you attend but you don't feel giving them money, maybe they're not the right church for you, right? Because if you support their mission and the way that they steward money, then that's a place. They're the ones who can have greater impact. And volunteering, so putting your time there, and that can look from random volunteer hours to a board position to giving them a skill set, but you will start to back to the practice. You practice being generous with those organizations. So I think that you can also pray about it. Lord, what breaks my heart on behalf of yours?
Right. Yeah.
And
I think the more that you give to whatever it is that's breaking your heart, and I would encourage people to not just give, but to get engaged in it, like what you're saying. So like if you give to allies, you could set up to give monthly and kind of out of sight, out of mind, but I think the real power that comes from that is when you see where your money's going and stay engaged. Hear the stories of impact that are coming. Come and volunteer and pack humanitarian aid to send to the kids that you're supporting. You know, there's so many different ways that you can kind of stay engaged.
Donate a library.
Yes, yeah. Donate to build a library for these kids. But yeah, I mean, I think that's when it really goes next level and it becomes personal. You know, I know for me, it, you know, like if we talk about giving to the church, you can become a consumer and then you move to becoming a contributor. So you're not just going on Sunday mornings and consuming you know, the message and the worship, you know, and that experience. But now when you're giving it, you take ownership in it. Like, this is a part of me. Like, this is my church family. And then even more so when you start serving, right? It's just becomes yours. And I think the same can be true for nonprofits, you know, when it becomes your mission. It's not that you're supporting this nonprofit in their mission. No, it's my mission.
Yes.
To rescue orphans or to
advocate.
Stop human trafficking.
Yes. I think 100%.
Well, so you talked about that it's more than just writing a check. And although sometimes it is writing a check, but I know that you've probably seen and heard of and know of a lot of other creative ways that people can be generous. We've talked about, you know, monthly giving and online giving and rounding up at the store and spontaneous giving and how all of those kind of can play a part in generosity. But what are some other kind of non-traditional or lesser known ways that people can be generous that maybe that people aren't even thinking about?
So a little bit more technical and financial is one, the stock markets that are an all-time high. And giving of highly appreciated stock is a way that you get a benefit for yourself. On a tax perspective, you can give that stock away with the appreciation and get to write off the full amount if you itemize. The nonprofits or your church do not have to pay taxes on that, the gains, the gift either. So because the markets are really high, most people will have stocks that they've owned for a while that may be a good first place to look.
That's cool.
We look at if you are 70 and a half, you can make when you turn 70 and a half, you have the ability to make a qualified charitable distribution from your retirement account or IRA. And if you don't need all of the income at that season of your life and you want to give it to charity, you don't have to pay taxes on the income. And there's some very strategic tax planning around that. So we see a lot of clients who are in their 70s who have determined that they have enough and decide they could be giving more of their money to charity.
Wow.
And that's a beautiful way to do it.
Yeah.
Donor advised funds are very popular today. A donor advised fund is a way you can give cash or money. You can give highly appreciated stock. You can give business interests. You can give land. But if you have things that you want to gift, you can get a tax benefit today. The money goes into this fund, and then you can give that fund over your lifetime. It's like
a savings, or it just kind of holds it in place until you decide where you want it to go.
Yes. Okay. So if I had a lot of times you have a major you got a really big bonus, or you had a liquidity event at your company, or you had a inheritance, and you have a year where you have more income than you've generally had, and you want to make a big gift to a charity, but maybe you don't know who or what charity yet, but you want to do something. You also get the benefit of a tax planning. And so donor advised funds give you the ability to get the tax benefits today, the deductions, but grow the money in the fund and then give it out over.
When you determine where.
On North Texas Giving Day, I'll have a lot of clients I can see, I get confirmations and people are giving money out of that fund. Actually right now with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that just passed is there's a lot more creativity for itemized deductions and how to give charitably and take advantage of some of those strategies. So if people are interested, they could look those up because this is a great season of a great year to be looking at doing those gifts.
Wow.
What's interesting though, donor advised funds, so it's money that's been given to a fund for charity, but not yet given to the charities.
Okay, so just sitting there.
It's just sitting there. There's in 2023, there was over $250 billion sitting in the funds that were going to go to charity. So the blessing and curse there is people want to do something, they're putting the money aside to do it. The hard part or the curse is that money is not being put to work. And there are a lot of organizations who could do a lot of good if they had.
Say that number again.
$250 billion.
$billion.
So there is a lot of money sitting on the sidelines as people are hungry.
Yeah.
There's trafficking, there's foster care, there's orphans.
Right.
That this money could be
making an impact for.
And people tend to compartmentalize and put that money in a separate mental accounting. One of my passions and objectives is to help people connect. Well, how do you figure out where do you want to give that money to?
Yeah.
And it's based on your values and what's important to you, but how do you decide and then do it?
Yeah.
Right?
In your lifetime. So you get to see the fruits of your labor and your decisions. Wow.
Yep.
So that shows you their heart is to give and to be generous, but there's still that hesitation to, I guess, pull the trigger. And so this is where having conversations with people like yourself can kind of help you overcome that and take that next step.
Yep. And I think most local nonprofits, I think there's always concern about, well, is it really going to matter? My donation. I know after we met on the golf course, I came and toured your facility and could see the work you did, your organization does. You can see the decisions you make or not make by the resources in the office were very wisely used. And I think people can start to look at those, go tour with a local nonprofit, serve on their board, volunteer time, and then decide you want to get behind them.
Yeah. So Shannon, and I mentioned this earlier, but like one of the things I think that first connected you and I was our heart for the hurting and for the vulnerable. And so I just want us to spend some more time in that place and just talking about the needs of this world and our call to step into that.
What I hear on my heart and the sermons and listening to podcasts is, the responsibility that we have to help the poor and oppressed. And while we might not know, there might be disagreement around it, whose job is that? Is it the government's job? Is it the church's job? Is it individual's job? We all agree that there's something that needs to be done for the poor and oppressed. And I think that's one of the first ways we can take a step is decide that you want to be a part of the solution. And you can't control what everybody else is doing. You can control with how you vote. You can control with where you go and where you serve. But if we start to look at the poor and oppressed and realize that there is, but even with some of the stories that I share, that's how might I actually be contributing to the problem with my own biases and assumptions that people aren't working hard enough or doing the thing. And then even evaluating where I spend money and how I spend it. And that's an invitation for any of these listeners is, where do you spend your money? If you're going to, there's no judgment here by any means because you spend your money with what you value. So if you're not sure what you value, look at where you spend your money. Could be club sports. It could be Starbucks. It could be travel and experiences. It could be technology and Netflix. But challenge yourself. Where does my budget say that I care about investing in the future? And I think everybody wants to see the next generation rise up and be successful, which means we have to have an investment in them. So if we think about a framework in our head of how am I going to invest in people to make people better, then I can start to peel back the layers and figure out what can I do. I think that the taboo, puts people back to they can't talk about it. And I even remember talking to my husband about, we have these savings goals. So almost all of our clients have these very big savings goals and a sense of accomplishment when they hit the goal, a certain dollar amount or a certain percentage, or they tipped over and paid the house off, or kids' colleges were funded. And those are all great things.
Yeah.
But what if we had a giving goal? And what if it's like, over our lifetime, wouldn't it be cool if we gave this much? Or before, in the next 10 years, wouldn't it be amazing if we actually gave away this percent of our income or this dollar amount, and we could say and had it as not as a negative almost, like we have to do this, but like, every time we give away, we're getting closer to our goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And a sense of accomplishment and investment. How are we investing for the future? And if we're investing in the next generation, then how are we putting money to work that is maybe not their sports, but the long game?
Yeah.
Right? I want programs in schools that are going to help kids with mental illness, or I want to help kids with special needs, or I want to help orphans.
Right.
I want to help kids who don't have a stable living environment, because those kids are going to school with our kids.
Yeah.
And so you can be thinking about, I want to invest in kids, but I want to be strategic in how I invest in kids.
We had a guest on the show. He was a high school teacher, and one of the things he teaches his students is what's in your palm. And so that's your priorities. These are the things that matter the most to you. And so I think his was, what are the 5 things, or I don't even know if he put a number on it. And so then you're, if you say it's your faith and your family, and your friends, well, then how are your actions aligning with that? Like, are you spending time in the Word? Are you plugged into your local church? You're saying that's your value, but are your actions aligning to that? Same with family and friends. And I think, we have to slow down and ask that about our money too. It does, if someone were to look at how I spend my money, does it reflect who I am and what I want to be known for and using, the resources God gave me for?
Yep. It's that resume virtues versus eulogy virtues. And when we're in this season where it's about, we're accumulating and we're working hard and getting promotions and saving money and being good at your career, those are important things. And then we look at, well, what do you want people to say at your funeral? And this isn't new to anybody, but if you wanted someone to describe you as generous, which would be something I would love for my eulogy, would they be able to look at my life and see that I have consistently been generous with my time, my talents, my treasures, my words of encouragement? Have I committed myself to be humble when I've not gotten it right, and then work hard to make it right?
Yeah, right.
And I think that is, if we focus with what do we want people to say about us, figure out those words, and I think it would change the way a lot of us
live on a daily. Yeah. So good. So for someone who is listening and they feel like they don't have enough, that what they have is very small, and I think that is, as you know, sometimes when you look at, oh, the need is so great, what could my small gift do? What would you say to that person?
Well, I think it's the widow in the Bible, right? That she gave generously for what she had.
Yeah.
I think it is amazing to see how so little can go so far. God's economy is not our economy. He is the ultimate multiplier.
Yeah.
And so if we think about it as an investment, and where am I going to invest what I have, even if it's not a lot?
Yeah.
How is it going to be multiplied? And what will be the impact for good?
Right.
Right. And so if it's $5 a week, if it's $5,000 a week, whatever your circumstances is, but am I investing that money expecting a, a kingdom return?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether it's tied to a faith-based organization, or if it's tied to a cause like orphans or foster care or food insecurity or mental illness, you can still invest in something that will have a multiplier effect.
So it's less about the dollar amount.
I think it's less about the dollar amount.
More about the heart. And
Always back to the heart.
for someone who is feeling inspired from today's message and they want to take a step, maybe the next step for them is to getting connected with someone like yourself and your team. So what would that look like if somebody were to reach out to you and come into y'all's office? What are some things that you are able to do with your clients that kind of help move them into the next stage of their goals?
We would meet with anyone that calls us. Our first meeting is always a complimentary consultation to figure out what somebody's needs are and their goals and desires, and then are we a good fit for them, what they're looking for. And I think having that conversation for a lot of people is value in of itself. I think doing the values exercise is a really good first step. And that's actually, there's a lot of apps that have them. The one I use is at thinktoperform.com values. And then you just mentioned the top 5. It'll help you get your top 5 and be able to reflect on, am I living with what I said matters to me? And that's a great first place. I think an audit of your own finances, and you don't have to get down to the nitty gritty, but you can decide where should I start? And is that going to be all the things that we talked about, but start somewhere. And am I talking to my kids about money? And a lot of times for people, money feels taboo. They don't want to talk to their kids about money, how much we make, how much, that is something parents may not be comfortable with their kids. But talking about where we give our money to is a whole different conversation.
Right.
That's actually one of the reasons donor advised funds are so popular, is for people who don't want to talk about money. The common ground is if we can talk about money and where we give it to, that's a safe place.
Yeah.
And so helping our kids understand, as a family, it's we want to invest in helping foster care or helping orphanages or helping our church, and that it should be a part of what you care about.
Yeah.
And that's
you're modeling it.
You're modeling it, and you're and you help it not become taboo.
I love that. Yeah, I know, like you talked about earlier, that the more you make, sometimes the harder it is to give, and that statistically, is that true that you've seen it, statistically people can give less and less the more they make?
It is 100% statistically true.
Wow.
That the more people make by percentage, the less they give.
Yeah.
We think about when a major event happens and you hear a Hollywood star gave $1 million to something, and it's like, that's generous and wonderful, but as a percent of their income, and I'm not saying they don't give to other places, but like, was there anything sacrificial in that?
Yeah.
Did it cost them anything? And so I think a lot about it is just, where does it feel like I'm making a choice? And that's where the sacrifice starts.
That's good. Yeah, I hope our listeners here today is how important it is, what we focus on in our mindset. And so with your heart being practice, I want you to leave us with what's the next right thing? What's a practice that people can start doing today when it comes to generosity?
Today they can do one generous thing.
Okay.
Again, whether it's a text to somebody that you need to encourage, that you want to lift up. It could be treating someone to a meal.
Yeah.
It could be deciding today that you want to start investing in an Allies for Youth or any organization. Like, you can do it. You can start somewhere. And you can see how it goes, and you can see what you gain from it. And then you do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. Small steps in the right direction. The
big scale, I think, is that there are certainly, on the financial aspect, some tax planning opportunities if you are charitably inclined, that are probably worth exploring if that's something you want to do.
Yeah. So how can people find you if they want to further those conversations?
They can search Ecclesiastes Wealth Partners, as in the book in the Old Testament. It's a mouthful, and you can request to contact us through our website.
That's awesome. Shannon, thank you so much. This has been very fruitful, and I know is going to impact many people and just open our eyes in very tangible ways that we can put it into practice too. So I just appreciate you and your wisdom. All right, friends. Well, what stood out to me the most in our conversation today is that generosity is really about so much more than money. And there's so many ways that we can be generous. And it's also about the freedom and the joy that comes when we are investing in people in ways that will long outlive us. And so as we wrap up the conversation today, I want to leave you with a few more possible next steps. So one of the best next steps that I think we learned today that you can take is to discover what your values are, and then find ways to really prioritize that in looking for organizations that are making an impact in ways that align with those values. So for many of us, myself included, one of my core values is answering the call to care for orphans and vulnerable children. And so if that is also true for you, I would love for you to consider Allies in Youth Development. So right now, Allies is mentoring over 26,000 orphans and vulnerable children in 82 countries all around the world every single month. Our mentors are going in and they are helping these children find hope and guiding them, teaching them valuable life skills, helping them to understand the traps of human trafficking. So when they age out of the orphanage, they're not prime targets anymore and they have a future. And all of that is because our mentors are investing in them. And so check us out, alliesyouth.org, if that is one of the ways that you want to align your values with your finances. And so another next step, if today's conversation sparked you and you want to dig deeper into your finances and talk through some of the suggestions and creative ways that Shannon brought up today, is reach out to her and her team at Ecclesiastes Wealth Partners. They really specialize in helping people align their money with what matters the most to them. And so we'll have her information linked in the show notes. But really, whatever your next step looks like, this is what I hope that you will remember, is that empowered people empower people. And so we pray and hope that you will go live generously today and that you will let your yes bring hope and encouragement and strength to someone else. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.